We're here on the EURAUD 240, and this is a potential head and shoulders with a 240 double bottom and a 60-minute double bottom and 2618 entry. Now, I have actually been in this trade for about 3 hours or so. I did the video earlier. I have just rewatched it and I wasn't completely happy with it. I didn't do a very good job explaining what's actually gone on. So I have been in this trade a while, and I was certainly in this trade when we had some news out which spiked right down to my stop loss and then pulled all the way back up. So wasn't very happy when that happened, but quite happy now because we've got quite a nice candle wick here and some lower time frame confirmation. So let's go ahead here, and for the second time I will do this review and hopefully do a better job of explaining it. So if I put a structure level on here, you can see that we have had this test, and we came up here and tested this area a couple of times, and what we have now done is we came lower and we've actually come into this structure level here. So I'm going to go ahead here and just put a structure level in at this point, just at the closes of the candle there. If we look left, we can see we also have this lovely area of consolidation. That makes 4, this makes 5. So we have a very nice structure level here. So since we've come down into that area, it's possible that we could see a reaction. And if we look here, we do have a psychological number 15800, where we do have the wicks that have actually come into that area. Now if we zoom in a little bit, whenever we look in the wicks, we can always look for a couple of things. We can look for double bottoms or head and shoulders. And if you look just here, we did not close below that line. We did not close below that line, but we did here. The thing is, we closed within the wicks here. So for me, I can still look at this as, if I have a lot of confirmation, as though we can still see a reaction. And obviously I'm looking for this reaction to be bullish here. And if we just look what's happened the last few days, we've really just been trading within this zone. So let's go down to the 240, and this is where we start to see some of our potential trades. So okay, that line, if we look here, we can see that it's right on the closes of the candles. And if we zoom in here, we can see we have closed just below it, but once again we do have this wick here, which has meant that we haven't closed below it. So double bottoms and head and shoulders are still valid for me. And what I'm looking at is this. If I just move it over to this side, you can see that we have a very directional run. We have a pullback, we have a move lower, a pullback, and a move lower. Now this here is a double bottom. We did go oversold, sorry, and we do have some RSI divergence, and as we know, this line is coming into major structure, so we could here see a pop to the upside. Now here, this bullish green candle was a higher high, higher close, but then we failed then to continue and retest the highs up here. In fact, what we did here, which was as a result of a news event that came out, we put in a lower low, lower close. But look at this big wick we've got here, an indication that there is buying pressure down there. So by itself though, this isn't good enough. This double bottom by itself just isn't good enough. So what I then did is drop down to the 60-minute time frame, and what we then have is, I'm going to put a structure level on here. We then had the market that came down for this double bottom just here. So you can see this is valid. We've come down into that structure level. We've had a double bottom. We have got more RSI confirmation. So again, we went oversold and got RSI divergence. We broke above our V point, indicating a break of structure. And then we pulled back for a 2618. Now, I had an aggressive buy at the 618 because we've got the, as I mentioned, the higher time frame confirmation for me. I was able just to put a limit order here at that 618 and I got filled, and then what happened is that news, it wasn't a scheduled news event, it's something that's happened in Australia, right down to this level, almost stopped out and then pulled all the way back. And following that hourly candle, we have then had a higher high, higher close. So very pleased with the setup at the moment. Because this is a 2618, even though we spiked right down here, I am looking at the market continuing on up to retest this level up here, and then potentially up further up to this level just here. So if I just bring back on the orders, what we can now see is that I'm looking at price coming up to this level. So this would be the top of the V point of the 4-hour double top, and I'm then looking at the extension up to the structure level, and then a continuation on up to secondary targets, which is this structure level up here, which is actually the start of the head and shoulders. So this is how it looks for me. Just let me delete some of these. In fact, I'll just go out to the 240 where we can see this a lot clearer. So with that double bottom, I'm expecting price to come up to this level, which is first target's just here. I'm then looking for a potential reversal like this, maybe a 2618, and then hopefully a continuation on up for secondary targets, giving me a head and shoulders looking like this. So looks like here it's a double-headed head and shoulders, which is perfectly fine for me, and then I've used the 60-minute double bottom 2618 as an entry. So I've got quite a nice entry here, considering it was a 2618 on the lower time frame. What it does mean though in terms of risk that I have, let me do that again, use the wrong shortcut. Okay, we're looking around 69 pips of risk for 134 to target ones, and then secondary targets, which are a retest of those highs, which again is the start of the head and shoulders, 287. So got in this potential head and shoulders early using the double bottom. Obviously the head and shoulders hasn't formed yet, and we won't know if it is a head and shoulders until we form the right shoulder, but nevertheless we're in this trade. It is now 20 past 6 on a Friday. I was really hoping that we could rally into profit before the markets close, just in case there's any small gaps over the weekend. I've got 70 pips of risk here. Just if we were to rally 30 pips into profit, that means I've kind of got 100 pips before my stop is hit. But we'll see over the next 4 hours, just before the market closes, whether or not we can rally up there and maybe gain an extra 20 or 30 pips of profit. And we're back, and as you can see, we have just passed the 100 pip mark, currently 111 pips up. We have now broken above this level. The next level to achieve is a retest of these candle closes up here. We have a higher probability now of going up to retest this area than coming back down to be stopped out for break even. So what we've just done, because we've broken this level of structure and this level, I can actually reduce down the risk now to underneath this area. So I'm actually going to go, let's have a look, we're going to reduce this down to here. So the risk is now reduced down on this trade to around 15 pips, something like that. We're back, guys. It's been a full 24 hours since the last update, and been pretty painful trade, to be honest with you. Not really bothered me emotionally that much, but we pushed up. We did double top just here on the lower time frame. We then saw a pullback, and as you can see here, I've been drawing out the trend. We did not violate the lows, and then we started putting in higher highs, and higher closes, so absolutely nothing to be worried about. I suppose in a way being able to retrend does help to reduce down those fears, particularly with it being such a large trade. But nevertheless, even if we had a broken structure here on the 60, I still would not have altered the trade in any way. And we're currently now 13 pips from target, so this will make 137 pips. We'll come back when we're hopefully hitting. We're back. We've been just 2 pips from our first target. Stops are at break even, currently 130 up. We'll come back to this trade as we're hitting or just after. And we're back. I just thought I'd jump back on here because we never hit, but if you can see there, we actually touched my take profit line, and then we're seeing quite a big rejection here on the hourly. Well, when I say quite a bit, you know, we've retraced, I think about 25 pips, something like that, 23 pips. And trading for me is all psychology. You can learn how to read price, you can learn different strategies, and you can change the strategies to suit your personality or improve them based on somebody else's strategy. But what you have to conquer yourself is the emotional side of it. And you know, this is, I've mentioned this before, this is a big trade, and you know, I'm only 111 up now. I'm rallying the other way, 25 pips the other way now, and I came just 1 pip from targets. But I did draw out this trend, and we came down. I told you that we held this structure level here, and what we did here then, if you follow this up, this here was actually a new structure high. Now, it was only just a new structure high, but nevertheless we still have a higher probability of going up to this level than not. And if we look left, we haven't yet come into our structure level up here. We've come very close to it, but we've not gone up to it, so don't know what's going to happen here. We could see quite a big retracement. You know, we could, and then we could see it continue on up. I would prefer just in the next hour or two for this candle to reverse and go and hit, because I would really like to get these pips banked. But still nothing to worry about. Staying calm throughout the trade. We're back, and as you can see, guys, we have rallied up here and hit those targets for 137. We're currently 163 up. We had Aussie news out in the night, which really gave us a boost. Look at this very big momentum candle, this 4-hourly candle, and the great thing about this is our structure level, which is where our targets were just here. We have now closed above it, and we've broken above that psychological number 16,000. So indication here that we're still going to go higher. Let's go and just take a quick look at the dailies. I don't want to delete everything off because it will make the videos when I resume it again look different, so I'd like to keep the same layout. So I've just gone to the 60. Let's take a look at that. Again, look at what we did here. We saw another pullback, and then we saw the break above. So you know, here, high, high, high. Looked as though we were running out of steam, particularly since we were coming back down to retest the structure lows, and then boom, we broke above it. And still a good opportunity here to get higher. Just one other thing I want to point out, and that's on the 240. Okay, so the head and shoulders is now looking like, well, that's a double head. Can be looking like this. So here you've got the left shoulder, the double triple head actually, this one, and then the right shoulder can be here. Now that may not be the right shoulder. We may actually see this being the right shoulder, maybe a retracement down to this level, and then a move higher. The good thing about it is no matter where price retraces to here, we do have, we're in trend. We've got the big higher high, higher close. We've got a very good structure level here, and my position is in the safest place possible for secondary targets. So in a good position here. Simply just now got to hold and see if we can get those secondary targets. Okay, we're back for the final part of the video, and this was target one winner only. we're stopped out for secondary positions in the night, which is a real shame because this is still valid for me, because you can see that we've still got the left shoulder here. We've got a triple retest. We had the break above. We actually are only just now pulling back for a 26.18 based on the 240. So if you get a higher close here, this could give you a conservative, more of a conservative entry to play for that extension. In actual fact now as well, if you're playing for the AB equals CD pattern, this is going to offer you a very nice risk to reward. There's the AB equals CD pattern coming in at the top, though my secondary targets were up here. But there we go. Anyway, from memory, I think this was 129 pips that was banked. Anyway, that you look at it, lovely target 1 winner.